lies fully in hindsight. We need to know what's coming out in game number 3 to evaluate. SKT have got one curse out. They won on the red side in game number 1 for the first time this season.
I don't see that as being a good idea either, as Nogari's going to lock away the Aurelia, the other champion that had been permabanned so far. Has taken a little bit of hit as far as her power level is concerned, but not a huge deal.
Now, would Gragas Yasuo first round be something SKT's willing to do? Some teams have done this. The Gragas priority seems pretty high for Clid, who we should mention has maintained his spot in this game. I could also see Clid's first jungle card this game come out. He plays a lot of it in solo queue, but maybe they haven't been scrimming in that direction. We've had more and more Korean teams, finally, after the big nerf, come out and say, yes, now we've finally worked out the card this works in Korea. It definitely does. Here we go, though. The Gragas has been selected ostensibly as the jungle pick. The Jace priority a bit lower because Aurelia has a good matchup into Jace, scaling over time.
But you could also lock in Teddy's pick here, whether he wants the Sivir or the Ezreal at this stage. Could go for that one because it's not likely DAMWON would have picked the Yasuo into it, but they are going to hard commit. SKT just going to take the Wombo combo.
But they're going to hard commit to a Wombo combo. They're not hard committing to lanes necessarily.
Hey, that's true. Now we can flex it to bot side.
Chance at spot lane. Does DWG Gaming do what most teams do and just lap up a duo lane here, or do they feel pressured to take a jungler first round? Something like Karthus or Lee Sin would be very commonly picked up here, and we'll just see the Lee Sin taken in this spot, hovering around a 50% win rate.
I think that the Lee Sin is really smart here from a psychological standpoint as well, because it's where Clid does like to default to when times are tough, as there's the Vladimir, and this is a true flex as well at this stage.
But it's also teamfight versus teamfight. It's very hard for Gragas Yasuo to be anything other than teamfight, and we're seeing a Vladimir as a response to teamfight. So it seems like we're at loggerheads, Atlas. And you know what we say about when a teamfight comp meets a teamfight comp? The early game gets even more important because you can't do other stuff if you can only teamfight. Therefore, you just have less items for that inevitable teamfight. So it can snowball even harder. Speaking of teamfight, let's just drop teamfight everywhere.
Yep, sort of Draven lane. Caitlyn's still available and buffed a little bit on this patch, as well as the Ashe. Caitlyn was one of the champions that we highlighted briefly in the pre-game, as now DAMWON have their opportunity to lock away a bottom lane.
Nuclear's actually more of a Caitlyn player, I would say, than some of our other AD carries. Teddy has played it in the past. The Braum going to pop up here, so no Pyke to try to answer.
Was Beryl's most comfortable champion there as well.
I don't think Caitlyn and Braum are great lane mates. What will the decision be here, though, on the side of DWG Gaming? If we're going for obvious laning synergy, it's going to be Lucian Braum. So they're saying, all right, game number 1, we straight up lost this game. We're going to go with the Lucian Braum. We're going to get some lane power for ourselves. And it might be a resulting Kalista lane, but the Ashe fits the Tahm Kench a lot more straightforward. And it is our buffed Ashe, where at all points, she is stronger with 1 second off her first max volley.
Exactly. Is he going to go for that lethality build that you told people to go for? I have a feeling he's not going to.
Not this game, but I think someone will before the end of the season. Maybe that's a side bet we can have. For this particular game, Ashe Tahm Kench, Hawk shots to try to find spotting. Onto Canyon will be very helpful for Clid. So DWG Gaming and SKT needed to make adjustments from their losses in this series. DWG Gaming say, let's get a power bot lane, but one that can potentially fall behind, right? Because they are shorter range. And Clid jumps on the Gragas, so he's not going for necessarily the Lee Sin priority himself. He does have the Hawk shot to make the enemy jungler more predictable. So will it be who can cover the holes in their boat, for example, that's going to float further, or is it going to be just a comeback performance? Because we have had real ups and downs in this best of 3.
And speaking of the up and the down, well, not necessarily down, more like the middle, the Vladimir is going into the mid lane this time. So Showmaker piloting the Vlad. This isn't a first time or anything like that for DAMWON. It is a true flex for this team. However, most people would see Vlad and attribute it to Noguri immediately, but Showmaker has been a great Vlad player as well, and that's how they're going to deal with this Yasuo in the mid lane piloted by Faker, who has notably been very, very good on the champion in the past.
Aurelia versus Aatrox in the long lane has kill pressures. They go that way. When we've seen this matchup, we haven't been impressed with teams not actually ganking for the Aurelia, allowing her to get kills. Will there be topside focus this game coming through from Canyon?
Only time will tell, Papa Smithy, but engage is something that SKT aren't wanting for. Whether they can do it in game 3, we'll find out now. SKT fans getting their money's worth here today as we go into a third and final game of their series against DAMWON. And it's the safe money, isn't it, Papa Smithy? You've already illustrated this to us, that every time these two teams face, it is 3 games or bust.
But actually, kind of becoming the SKT Summer story as well, right? A lot of 3-game series.
And the DAMWON story.
3-game series
they haven't had
for SKT in all games, barring the 2-0 loss to Sandbox most recently. And you're right, DWG Gaming cut from the same cloth. Don't see this Aurelia skin
on their side.
Don't see this Aurelia skin too often. It's the Night Stalker or whatever one.
Good. As long as it's not Aviator.
No.
I've been a hater of Aviator forever.
Oh, but I'm a lover of Aviator. Really? Actually, we're disconnected on this one, Atlas.
Yeah,
we might need counseling over this.
Yeah, we might need to go to couples therapy again.
We're usually in sync, you know?
I know.
We're always finishing each other's sandwiches.
But sometimes it's okay to have some differences, you know? It spices up the relationship. At least that's what the therapist said last time around. I'm hoping that one day you'll actually just listen to the therapist. Faker now looking to try and get some trades happening with Showmaker as the minions finally crash in the mid lane. We wait for these lanes on the bottom side as well. And how important is this early game, and how important is it that SKT track Canyon and his movements around the jungle?
I feel like SKT kind of have, you know, unequal resources. They have the Hawk shot that makes the jungle counting and just the visibility of pathing so much easier. So I think the onus is on them, and it's a Ashe Tahm Kench lane. And all these Ashe and Ezreal Tahm Kench lanes read the same way, right? If you can get out of lane first and get to the mid lane, you have oppressive map control between Abyssal Voyage and also the Ashe's suite of utility. However, from behind, may struggle, and it's press the attack. Lucian and Lucian Braum duo. It's going to be Unsealed Spellbook on both of these supports as well. So definitely some real snowball potential, and I think the easy answer is a lot of onus on early game, because when both teams have teamfight comps, gold leads mean way more than if one team wants to be doing things across the map away from people, where actually having an item advantage or disadvantage isn't felt as readily.
Yeah, I think it's actually really cool that we have finally some similarities in what the comps want to do, because it then sort of puts a magnifying glass on where the flexibilities are with each of these compositions. And I think that SKT kind of won out on that one. They've got disengage as well as engage, but speaking of engage, Canyon looking for this level 2. Teddy gonna get devoured, has to flash, but will get locked up. Canyon tries to get forward, the heal has already been used. Sorry, the exhaust from Marta to make sure SKT got out, but that is not going to be first blood. Just all of the summoner spells available bottom side of the map.
And you can see why DWG Gaming went for this Lucian Bomb. They wanted to play bot side. They wanted to answer the game number 1 where they had nothing doing around the duo lane. The spoiler that this was going to be high action is that Canyon didn't fully clear. His Krugs. He left the little ones. He hit level 3. It was for level 3. It was for getting a gank timing earlier than a full 3 camp clear for Lee Sin, which all players are kind of aware around when these champions can hit the rift if they go unexpected path. They came in early. The summoners were used. No kill goes the way of DWG Gaming.
Hasn't translated into too much of a pressure advantage either on the bottom side of the map. You can see Teddy and Marta are still down there, still able to get stuff done, and there's a biscuit in the back pocket of Teddy also.
They provoke vertical jungling, though. The blue buff steal comes through from Clid. He's going to respond on the top side. Does hurt out Aurelia early, but actually Aatrox does well in the Aurelia matchup early. It's later, post 6, that things get a little bit trickier, and gank assist, what Aurelia usually needs. I know I've been frustrated that Aurelia can just kill Aatrox now in the 1v1, one of the changes with the Aatrox rework, and thus a bit of help. We'll get the first kill rolling, we'll stop the Aatrox from being able to contest CS. There's no help coming. In fact, the help's coming for SKT.
Exactly. Clid's got that flash. Nogari's going to use his, and Clid says, well, that's a successful gank already, and I didn't even need to use anything. Didn't even have a keystone at that point in time, Papa, and he's still able to get work.
Now, the gank's late enough that it isn't one of those Predator jungler ganks pre-3 minutes and you never expect it because they're usually back at 650 gold to get their keystone. This is just a gank timing that ends up getting a flash, and it's just a good move from SKT. With the lane state where it was, Nogari had to flash to get out if the Infernal Chains hit. A nice little moment there, and release some pressure from Aatrox, which is big for Kanye.
Yeah, I actually thought that was great as well, because Clid could have just backed, right? Or he could have wandered top, and he wandered top and got a flash for it. So not even investing anything into that moment, goes over to his Krugs, and Canyon's going to start off the mountain very, very early. Remember, Mountain Drake has a hell of a lot of health, but he's going to spend some time, see whether he can take this one down at level 4.
A lot of lane control for the Vladimir. It's another Doran's Ring start that we saw Nogari be the first on this Vladimir. I'm sure some people look at that and, you know, you're baited by the mana regen and thinking it's a mistake, but in fact it's just a lot of battle stat that allows the Vladimir to get 2 potions. That's why you do it, because you can get 2 potions with the health and AP that double scale. It just means that if you get ganked and you're down to 200 health, you don't have to back. You can actually go into your 2 potions and stay in lane.
Not to mention the assistance when it comes to last hitting creeps as well, which can be a little bit difficult with Vladimir's weird animation.
The gold efficiency of Doran's Ring is higher than something like the, you know, we would have seen something like a Dark Seal. The Dark Seal sellback was higher, but that was nerfed. So just given everything, you got battle stats, you got 2 potions, you feel pretty good.
And it was happening in the last patch, and I mean, Corrupting Potion was another option, right? But that's also been nerfed, so even more of an opportunity.
And I really, I mean, I can't get behind Corrupting Potion on Vladimir, but Clid's coming in. Looking for something here.
Okay, Predator is going to be utilized. Beryl now in trouble. It's a lot of damage. Hasn't gone down yet, finally. First blood goes over to the Ashes. Marta was tanking for so damn long and then has the Devour. Welcome to double MVP, Marta. That was stunning.
There was a lot of mess to clean up from game number 2, and that was supremely good. You could eat off that turret dive. Whoa. It was so good. Really nicely done by SKT. Someone was going to punish on the summoner spell Atrocity in the bot lane, but this time it's SKT.
Yeah, Canyon not going to find any red buff to try and punish. In fact, I believe he just missed the red buff that was actually in that pit, so Brambleback had his dancing shoes on. And Fake is going to collapse. And, okay, Blast Plant is going to get Canyon out, so he just uses a ward. Gets himself out of there.
Do notice Nogari had teleport. Let's watch the top state as this dive happens. Aatrox teleports early. Aurelia's kind of milling. I guess maybe it was one of those Nogari only really thinking about the lane moments, because it ended up just being calculated. It's hard to say if Aurelia would have salvaged it 2 for 2, but you would have thought there would have been at least a single kill on the bot side. Noguri keeps his lane state good, and potentially, with his control ward, can get some jungle help when Canyon hits 6. But now it goes from being a nice little cherry on top to, well, you better get a lead if you're not going to TP.
Yeah. And Teddy is absolutely incredibly far ahead at this point in time. Does have himself an extra recurve bow on what Nuclear was able to put together.
Yeah, that's a sick first back.
Yeah. And Ash was fine the patch before, and now her volley is a second less on the cooldown. And I mean, a lot of people are looking at it like, you know, it's 1 second, you know, it's not all that huge, but it translates to a gigantic lowering of that that cooldown at later ranks when you do have some CDR in your build.
I think people read patch notes and they find it hard sometimes to work out if it's a big change or a small change. And some of the things you should consider is the ability being buffed at level 1? I.e., at first rank, if it gets a buff, well, you're going to have it by level 3 most of the time. That's going to really change the game nice and early. When do you max the ability? Because if your third maxed, as your last maxed ability, gets a level 5 buff, that's only affecting you at level 18. You're not going to have that before. Yeah. It doesn't matter as much. When your first maxed ability gets 1 second cooldown reduced at level 1, and you max it first, and it's still reduced there, then it's just better from minute 1 in the game. So it's a bigger buff that may meet the eye for Ashe than some of the other buffs that you get baited into thinking are going to be huge.
Well, now SKT, speaking of huge, that could have been a gank attempt, but not going to happen. They're just going to take away his blue buff. No steal available here from DWG.
Really going to be 100-0 potential, even with full rotation here between Showmaker and Faker. I guess we should mention it's Electrocute Vlad.
So I was going to talk to you about that.
A little bit more trading damage.
And he also has the Ignite as well. So Showmaker just making sure that he has as much power as quickly as possible on this Vladimir to get through the lane against Faker. And you can see keeping up as far as the farm is concerned. Not too much to worry about. He did have a lot of pressure actually in the early stages of the laning phase. So impressive laning from the Vladimir. This is all about the bottom lane once again. On SKT's side, Teddy is so strong already with that 150 gold bounty.
And even better against Lucian, because we saw Ashe against Lucian quite a lot, right? Ashe can't pension to Lucian lanes and hard lanes. Remember, the reason for that is 600 auto range, means you get a couple of auto pokes in, you get the CS safely, kind of Caitlyn analysis. But the reason why it's actually warped the matchup more is now you have more wave control with more ability to volley. So you can actually push the wave more reliably than you could before. Good, it started off the Rift Herald, but Faker surfs onto it, they look for the top lane camp, and nothing doing for Noguri. Still, all action being dictated by SKT after DWG Gaming couldn't get that level 3 kill bot side.
Yeah, and that control ward's going to be taken down by Canyon. That's going to signal that Shelly is free food for SKT. They are going to be able to lap this one up very simply. Gold lead not going to change, but it's already 1.2 advantage for SKT. Have so much control. Infernal Drake is going to get spotted there on the horse shot. Can SKT actually rotate in time? Abyssal Voyage is available for Marta if he wants to get in there, as the Rift Herald has been decided to go down. So it's just SKT saying, we're going to break open your mid lane. You can take the Infernal Drake. We don't care about playing for that long.
Very much a 1-2-3 play where SKT's trying to still exit on top. They get almost all the time. In fact, here's the engage.
Yeah, Last Breath does come down. Faker already down to half health, though, as the culling is ripping them apart. Marta, once again, saving his team, but DWG still have a lot of fight in them. That's a great ultimate, but the arrow is a good answer also. From the Ashe, the volleys are flying over the top of DWG, just slowing us. Khan dives on forward. Noguri uses the W, but it's just not enough, as now Showmaker has to flash to get out of the way. Teddy flashing forward also, and SKT smell blood in the water, and they'll just take down an outer turret in the mid lane. They'll call it a day, but that was a whole lot of power of SKT.
DWG Gaming so desperate to find a way back into the fight that almost was the multi-kill from the Aatrox. They're chasing for more, but it's going to be
happening
difficult.
Here. That's the flash Licky Tongue coming out from Marta. Canyon has to flash. A lot invested to try and take down the Lee Sin, but they at least get his effort.
Sometimes you just know it's going to be a big re-engage, and I think Khan was feeling his birthday coming early on that one. The moment that he came back into the fight, you're like, wait, DWG Gaming have blown everything to try to make this happen. The replay comes in, and actually the re-engage here from DWG Gaming is fine. The Windwall's not in a great spot to reduce damage, but they see the Rift Herald and they get desperate, and Noguri says, damn it, I'm ult flashing to try to force this. That's really desperate. They're still going in so aggressively, and watch Khan choose his moment, because almost it just wrecks DWG Gaming.
Yeah, the Umbral dash immediately into the flash for perfect positioning on the knock-up as well. Mechanically, a fantastic play here as it only continues. Showmaker finally getting that Sanguine pull up, but he'd already panic altered the ground to see whether he could make it more slippery to get away fast.
Well, if you're into slivers, he literally pulled the auto attack from Ashe that would have killed him.
Yes.
So that was at least on point, but otherwise, SKT, they've been able to blow off a very poor game 2 and say, look, that was a Clid thing. Let's just go back to our team plan. That was only around one of our members, and that's not to pile on him. It's just Clid had a falling out, died 3 times, and everything fell apart around him. Now there's going back to the team plays that won them game number 1. They're looking sharp doing them, and DWG Gaming is showing the desperation that younger lineups sometimes show.
Yeah, Beryl also had a panic ultimate in the last team fight as well at the very beginning, missing his Glacial Fissure completely.
That was,
SKT.
I think, the same as the Irelia ult of, got to engage, got to engage, got to engage. Obviously, Braum trying to make ult engages work is not where you want to be.
That's also another point going back to the draft as well, because DWG don't have that many ways to engage. They've got some kicks, they've got Beryl trying to land a Q and then getting a stun, something like that, but it's not exactly reliable, and SKT have about 1 billion different ways to start a fight from range.
And it's very easy if DWG Gaming to lose to say, crap draft. That's the reason they couldn't engage. So
yeah.
See Faker going in nice and deep. Remember that that's not what they've picked for here. They have win lane attempt at Lucian Braum. They're a win lane duo. They have Irelia into Aatrox. This is supposed to be, ooh, you can't lane. We got the great laning situation. And if you come to us, we can turn around. You're engaged, we'll just turn around with an outplay with more gold because we have winning lanes. If it falls behind, that's where the dark side comes out. But League of Legends is no longer, we got the best of everything, and your draw sucks, and then we win. It's a lot of, this is how we win, this is how you win, and whichever can play to your strength better will come out on top. So far, that's been SKT. In game number 3, Noguri hasn't been able to find any kills onto the Aatrox, and Khan already has threatened what teamfight Aatrox can look like.
Yeah. Trinity Force almost completed here from Noguri, as Khan picks up this minion wave and will get himself back within 5 CS. Of the Irelia, Trinity Force done at 15 minutes into the game.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't too bad.
But teleport didn't come in on the bot side, right? So he better have a lead. He better find a way to take advantage of it because bot lane, not to a CS discrepancy, but definitely based on where the bot lane could have gone. A lane ripe to be ganked. He's ganked by SKT. No response came through from DAMWON.
Faker's got an extra dagger after his Phantom Dancer completion. Interesting. I would have expected an Infinity Edge to come in after that one. Often it's, you know, lifeline of choice and putting the Infinity Edge at either item 3 or item 2 is Teddy, taking a lot of damage. Marta there with the Devour still available. Khan once again looking for that engage, only gets a knock-up onto Beryl. Meanwhile, Noguri has to use that W, is cleared, throws out the barrel into the middle of nowhere. A zoning cast by the looks of things, as SKT will back away.
W wouldn't have reduced damage in that spot. Sidestep important to thwart the Yasuo engage. Faker was our first Bloodthirster Phantom Dancer Yasuo, and we saw that build around the world, so I imagine the BT might even be on the way, which doesn't necessarily, again, give you too much info about the dagger. This team fight, 2 team fight comps. Who's going to find the information here? So many people trying to next level each other.
Yeah, flanks within flanks. Papa Smithy is cleared. Is he going to press that Predator button? Are we going to start this one off? He's still outside of vision. As you can see, finally moves his way in here as there is the Abyssal Voyage. Delivers Khan to the backline, and the Lucian immediately dies. The arrow also to augment this battle. Faker's dead very, very quickly, though, as Canyon goes golden. Now, the Vladimir tries to get work done, but falls down in the backline. But Noguri is gigantic. The Blade Surge resets are huge. He finds a triple kill, but Khan should be able to put this one to bed. Knock-up is decent. It's a good stun, but not enough, as the Aatrox is the last man standing.
Man, everyone looking for their moment. Clid gets in there to start the team fight that is won by SKT, but Noguri lying in wait shows what he was considering as well. Now, because it's Gragas, because the cast always will begot the Yasuo ultimate, there was always going to be some guaranteed engage, and the first kill comes in an Aatrox comp. Usually just enough for you to cut and dry say, advantage SKT. Now, while Nuguri gets in there, because it's later, because he's more disconnected, because he's fishing further away, he can't answer the fight. But it is nice that our team fight versus team fight is still looking competitive, even if the overall winner seemed not in doubt.
Yeah, it was actually pretty cute using the Blade Surge to get out of the knock-up range, but it was just too big of a lead there for Khan. And now he's 4-0-3, a gigantic Aatrox. And look, he did the numbers to back it up also.
Infernal will be the reward here. Infernal comes into the game.
And we need to also illustrate that 0 next to the Lucian, that's understandable because he wasn't allowed to play League of Legends. In that last team fight, he was just dived on and destroyed.
Actually, team fight, Lucian here has a couple of things to be frustrated about. Windwall also does a number on Lucian in a lot of fights as well. The culling is usually the guaranteed damage start, and then you start, swiftly coming in when the health bars get lower with your Relentless Pursuit. Turret dive being threatened. This is not around the Irelia, though.
Yeah, World Ender is going to be utilized here as Canyon breaks the Infernal Chains and Hemoplague finishes it off pretty comfortably. That's a lot of extra money as Canyon, not tagged by that hitbox of the Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
TP.
And now SKT find themselves in trouble. Mata does still have the flash forward. Canyon makes it to the brush, but Teddy has the ward down. He's able to get damage in, but the Sanguine pull is enough to stop Showmaker from falling, and they answer that one. 2 for 1 in the end for DAMWON. Clid looking for more, but he finds himself a control ward. And DAMWON get away safely.
It was important for Teddy to find something to salvage because TP advantage is on DAMWON. They were always going to have more members in position earlier. They wanted to rotate first and ensure they didn't just mill around on low health bars. Gragas Yasuo comes in and maybe it could be turned. No. So the Ashe actually salvages it, means no objectives can be taken on the back end. But the opening of this, not through the Irelia, but turns out Vladimir is pretty good at tanking turret aggro. The moment the Canyon connected with his kit, things were good. You actually feel bad for Teddy because usually
that
the
arrow
hitbox is so broken on the Ashe arrow that you would feel hard done by as Teddy. But on the re-engage, Teddy very early, once he sees the TP, knows he has to flash, otherwise SKT get routed in this area.
Yeah, decides to flash aggressively, does manage to get a kill for it, but giving away a little bit more gold there also. He died in the previous fight, so that bounty had already been lapped up. But the bounty on Khan was to the tune of about 400, and that is a lot of money now in the back pocket of DAMWON. And that's why you can see 3,000 gold is the only lead. And as we move further forward, this Infernal Drake that they managed to sneak early, the Mountain Drake also, are going to get more and more value.
Big item discrepancy on the bot side. And remember, Nuclear's going the more expensive build popularized by Deft at the end of spring with the Essence Reaver. So right now, it does feel like Nuclear's contribution to a fight. If the wind wall comes on the culling, it might just be nothing. So it's a pretty big problem. A lot of onus required onto Showmaker on Nuguri. Meanwhile, Teddy's flash is down, but he's got a trusty Tahm Kench, and if he's hitting full stacks of Q, that'll be big. It's turning on to Khan, trying to kill him again.
He's not going to land, but Khan has to fight this. There's no way to get out. Does get a decent knock up there. Gets the last hit of the Q. Nuguri underneath the turret finds the last auto as Arrow flies into the mid lane. Beryl uses the cleanse immediately. Throws down the ult, but I think that this Braum should... No! Okay, Winter's not going to work. The wind wall just comes in, but you're not killing anyone with that.
Instantly flashed by Beryl, and he gets out. Safety first, didn't look guaranteed. Baker walks up, and this Showmaker's no joke.
Yeah, Hemoplague comes in. The Ignite is there, but gets his flow back, and that's all that he's going to be missing.
Phantom Dancer shield.
Yeah,
one of the reasons that he didn't get a little bit closer, but wouldn't have died, I think, even if Phantom Dancer was down. They're making a smart read. Finally, we're seeing teams try to attack Aatrox in the side lane. If you have Irelia Vlad, we've seen already. We knew about the Irelia. We saw the Vlad. Trying to attack him every time he face checks is a way to go here for DAMWON. But right now, with Lucian so far behind, even with their teamfight comp, they're finding ways to just try to play 4-1 around the Aatrox.
Yeah, it feels like the Lucian, it doesn't even really matter, and then he gets a whole wave of CS also, so... Whilst they're covering up their issues, they're also solving them at the same time. Really smart stuff here from DAMWON. Teddy and Mata here in the mid lane should still have some priority. But as DAMWON get themselves around this map, starting to feel dangerous.
Notice that Clid has slowed down on an AP Gragas build and just said, well, we got an item lead on Teddy. Teddy's been 1v9ing. He's gone second completed item after his AP item into Zeke's Convergence just to buff up Teddy even more.
Now SKT are pushing down this mid lane. Faker wandering over as well. The Baron is available. This outer turret is DAMWON's for sure. Very close to evening out that turret count and also evening out the gold as well as SKT. Inside track into this inner turret and SKT still lying in wait. Here in this Fnatic brush on the bottom side.
We're getting closer and closer to a future where if Teddy lives after the dive, he may go down. They're trying to duo Baron with Infernal and Mountain. SKT don't know about this. They think they fully disengaged, but the Baron speed, it's not lightning quick.
Yeah, it's way too low, but SKT
don't
still
have
haven't
any
even
idea.
Yeah, exactly. Khan looking to walk up the river to try and get back to a lane. He's just clearing out wards. He hasn't even put his face in here yet.
Well,
does dive on forward. Finally, Worldender is going to be popped. Arrow is going to soar through the heavens, but doesn't land on the DAMWON members. It's a good knock-up there from Clip, but not in range was Faker. It is going to be secured. The Baron goes over to DWG Gaming, and SKT were definitely just caught napping.
It felt like SKT had everything in their control with how much could be done around Teddy, but they ran around the map. The top lane out turret goes down. SKT make the understandable rotation. Go through mid lane. Punish them for being out of position on a back. No. Infernal, Mountain, and Duo Baron comes out huge. Huge for the side of DWG Gaming. Way against the flow of play. Feels like a Mountain Drake is just going to be a luxury for SKT. And suddenly, this third game, we were looking for it to be in the balance. It's right in the balance at 24 minutes.
Yeah, but there's a Baron buff now swirling on DWG's side as we have a look at the replay that was the result of.
DWG Gaming here so assertive and can't buy time as much as he wants to. He's too easily stunned by the Braum and thus doesn't even get a full rotation up. Let's see how close the Smite War was. And it just ends up being claimed seemingly easily by Canyon. Lane outer goes down. Playing around Aatrox's lane gets easier when there's the Baron buff. And now defensive wards to stop anything further, stem the bleeding. It's not DWG's bleeding anymore, now it's SKT's.
Exactly, SKT going to fall further behind as this Baron wears on if they can get more pressure down onto this map. So far they've just managed to even out turrets, although that fourth was already taken from SKT, so they'll need one more. Back going to come in here. Canyon already has a Guardian Angel completed. We're very close to death cap for Showmaker, who got himself to all of his CDR, and then he's just gone for big ticket items. Spellbinder already in. Now looking for that Rabbidan's death cap to make sure this Vladimir is as big as possible, as early as possible.
And all the builds do slide in well from SKT. You want IE third as an Ashe, but you look and say, I'm taking AoE from Vlad. I don't know how much, but I'm going to take some, right? Yeah. So you need more, otherwise you can't actually keep up your Q and get in there with Hurricane and do consistent damage. However, we see a slide out with double Zeeks in this game. So it's double Zeeks, one for Faker, one for Teddy.
Yeah.
So Faker has a high damage build, but now has Stasis and the Phantom Dancer shield behind it. There's still some sick teamfight wombo and also the Zeke's convergences to make it viable choices from them. And yet, Nogari and Showmaker find the right fight. Someone dies quickly. If one of those threats goes down, maybe there's not enough damage to take down DWG Gaming.
Well, Clit and Faker are together. Faker's going to set up a couple of knockups, but not going to go for any sort of engage when things are so dark on Summoner's Rift. Abyssal Voyage gets SKT in position underneath this inner turret.
Siege, though, not necessarily something you put a bumper sticker on. You're riding the DWG Gaming train. Not very able to do that. They walk up, and Vladimir and Lucian have basically no range between them, so has to be a two-lane push. They're playing the two lanes that allow them to team fight if it is a fight between these lanes. They can't play three for threat of just being engaged on and no one responding through a teleport.
Yeah, I feel like SKT are being saved by the fact that they do have so much engage they can throw out. Speaking of which, that's a great Unbreakable from Beryl to block the ultimate from Clid. Looked like the positioning was right on point there from the Gragas.
It does abate a minion wave, so this buys a lot of time. It means Baron buff is down his mid lane.
Yeah, Nogari in trouble. Windwall does come out as Nogari does go golden eventually. Another arrow is going to pierce the heavens, but not the members of DWG. That could be a problem. Nogari does go down. Showmaker with the double kill already, but Khan is gigantic. Infernal Chains lands, but he's stunned up for so damn long. Worldender will give him back 30% of his health, and the Devourer is there to save him. And now Teddy, it's his turn in this team fight, but Showmaker just turns around, gets all of his health back with a Crimson Rush. Big fight for DWG Gaming.
SKT should have full disengaged. Faker should have flashed out. They're fighting between the two lanes DWG Gaming while pushing up. And there's no way for Teddy to respond. He's completely out of the fight. There's nothing he can do while his front line dies. In this case, the Gragas and Yasuo. So DWG Gaming get the kills, they get the turret, they get a lot there, and it was avoidable from SKT.
Yeah, I think they just all in on the Aurelia,
The all-in start was fine, but you've got Flash, you've got to get out, because watch the replay and remember, DWG Gaming are pushing up 2 lanes. Engage on Nogari, great, absolutely do this, try to punish when they're out of position, but now, how do you do anything here? Because Mada's walking in slowly, Teddy's walking in slowly. They're fighting around 5 when there's no way for Mada and Teddy to get in there.
I think that it was a stun from Braum, stopped Faker from flashing over the wall like he was trying to do so.
Got to respond faster, you got to think about those things, Atlas. It's easy to say that in hindsight. Braum does a lot of stuns, but everyone's aware of that. And the cost is pretty severe because it means DWG Gaming get more out of that scenario than they should.
Well, now it's a stopwatch on Showmaker, but more importantly, a really cool red hat. Well, actually, it's a blue hat with a red background, but it's a pretty cool hat regardless. Stun comes in here from Nogari.
Okay, outnumber.
Yeah, we're going to dive on him. Abyssal Voyage makes this as 3 versus 1. Nogari's still trying to fight this one out, but I think he knows that he's going to die here. He's trying to deny as many of these assists as possible. Doesn't get to as Khan picks up another one.
And nothing doing on the Rift. DWG already had some Baron vision. They don't actually make anything happen. It's just a pick. Nice, aggressive move from SKT. They have teleport on Teddy. Khan, they were able to respond if anything happened, so that's just smartly understanding the game state and getting something out of that.
Yeah, 1.5 thousand gold is the lead here for DAMWON now. Clawing back are SKT, and they'll get themselves the Earth, Wind, and Fire. Cloud Drake going down. Bit of extra movement speed, but nothing really to worry about if you're a DAMWON fan.
I'm going to say a champion's name, imply a question without saying it, and you tell me yes or no.
Okay.
Irelia.
No.
Are we sure the answer is no? When I see those 2 items, I think of only one item.
I know, but it's Guardian Angel and Sterix. It's got to be, right?
What if it wasn't? Then somewhere Selfmade is like,
I was going to say, then Selfmade's made his way into the LCK
Selfmade
under the guise of a raccoon named top laner.
Well, in Nogari we trust.
All right, okay. Once again, no last breath to be triggered here as Clid and Faker have been a little bit off kilter here. So far, there's been a few knockups that Faker either hasn't been in range for or hasn't decided that he really wants.
Baron got DWG Gaming the lead, but this is a more expected one with Mountain Infernal. They do it fast. How does SKT respond? Mada's in base. Gonna take a while.
Abyssal Voyage gets him back here though. 5,000 health on the Baron. It's going down extremely quickly. Faker has to get devoured. They're going to turn off the Baron. The culling going to go straight into the backs of SKT, but Mada soaks a lot of it. Khan has the Guardian Angel, but he's able to get out with the flash. They hold on to that big cooldown in the GA, and now DWG move back to the Baron pit one more time.
Yasuo ult up. Ashe ult up. Everything else on cooldown. Remember, Aatrox ult also on cooldown. TP back in. This is a fast Baron, though.
Yeah, this is SKT's fight to orchestrate. However, they're going to lose the Baron to start this one off. Good stun lands onto Clid, but that's all it's going to get. A Showmaker dives on forward. The Ashe almost gets obliterated, but once again, Mada's in there with a brilliant devour. The backline, though, is all about DWG. They've swept through, and they're not going to lose anyone as the Aatrox goes down after the GA.
You just see the power of Vladimir. No ult, no problem. Can still occupy so much space and through more, through other things. Be a frontliner for the team. Easy for the Lucian to try to just put out consistent damage in the backline and not die. With that Baron, they're going to get a lot. Will they be able to end the game? Maybe not with the death timers. Not that long.
Well, the base is going to be absolutely obliterated. At this point, someone will easily tear this one apart. Mada and Teddy might be able to hold on to Nexus turret.
5 seconds on Clid.
Yeah, I'm not even sure about that. You're right. 9 seconds on the Yasuo also. So Faker's going to be back up very soon. 10 onto Khan, and DWG
duo will be up on respawn. Task is back. Yasuo ult is back. Smart of them to not play with fire because you could just see some amazing turn with AoE damage from Ashe under a Yasuo Gragas combo. Watch the replay here, and we talked about how they were both team fights, and then DWG Gaming plugged in the Vladimir, and we know about the Vladimir's reputation in the late game. Clid gets into the pit late, doesn't fit a smite off, but watch how the fight ends up, specifically with Showmaker, who flashes into 3 people, doesn't need a lot of help, kills one, zones out the big damage dealer, and they win from there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the last breath got basically nothing. Nuclear went into his stopwatch, and Canyon got out of there and had a GA anyway as he was helping Showmaker out. Really, really well orchestrated fight there from DWG Gaming. And what they're doing is they're playing this teamfight comp so well with their proactive plays because they're making sure that they never have to engage a fight. SKT is always engaging on them. That's what they don't have, but their turn from it onto an engage, their re-engage, so strong.
And what we could definitively say when we have kind of two teamfight god champions, we think of Aatrox and Vladimir, is that without ult, Vladimir every time. Aatrox comes back in, and he can't just fish for that reset. He doesn't have that ability anymore, so because of that, it's so much easier for Showmaker to just pop in, AoE damage, no Hema Blade to finish off, but he did his role a lot cleaner. So a reminder, a timely one. But Vladimir ain't got no changes, so he's still very strong. Baron buff gold, once again, has really got it. DWG Gaming into this game. It's a 5,000 after about a 4,000 Baron buff.
I think that's
power
only
play.
Baron buff power plays, right? There's any sort of gold lead here for DWG Gaming, maybe even not enough to make up for that number as SKT trying to hold on to their bottom outer turret. No stun to come in, as now Khan has found the Infernal Chains onto Canyon. Doesn't have his GA anymore, but he's not going to get taken down. The rest of his team there to back him up.
Both AD carries have flash available. Very, very important in these late game fights. Otherwise, Summoner's disconnected around the Rift. DWG Gaming push up again. They've got the super minions pushing in top. SKT know that if they go right now, they might get one team fight chance.
Yeah. Beryl diving in. Showmaker breaks the Infernal Chains as cleared. Body slams his way off to the side. No one going to find any interactions with any buttons just yet. And it's 5.5 thousand gold the lead for DWG, who have so much control. I mean, Void Staff in now for Showmaker as well, and we do have that GA, unfortunately, for Noguri, so self-made. Sorry, mate, he didn't actually get the memo.
Faker's Yasuo, never been a legendary pick for him. Dade was the Yasuo player.
Yeah.
Other people have been more famous Yasuos. He's very far behind in this game. 2 items is late into the game. He just dies to knock, he's engaged.
Yeah, it's a good knock up there from Khan. Does land a few Qs, but then gets knocked up. The ultimate is used defensively out of Beryl, though, and SKT have managed to hold on to this inhibitor turret for a long time. The Baron has worn off, and DWG are going to have to wait until that one's back up again in 2 minutes' time.
The cooldown trade is beneficial for SKT. It's 1 ult for 2, so you feel good about that. Devour feels like an ult in these moments, but of course, not quite there. Problem for Faker is he's level 16, he's got 3 items, but it's not really the amount of pressure you'd want, and he just hasn't been able to do a number like the Vladimir, and I guess more fairly you would want to compare him to the Aurelia when it comes to kind of team fighting forces. Just feels like Noguri is in a position above that. Good CS from Faker, he's over 300, which the other solo laners can't quite copy. But how do they do it? What is the scene of the crime for SKT? Because for DWG Gaming, it's been Baron after Baron. SKT have a teamfight comp. If they get control around a Baron, a pick with the Yasuo is still possible on the wrong face check.
I feel like a mistake out of Showmaker is a large way that SKT find a way back in. He's just been playing so well, breaking up fights and making sure that his Hemo Plagues always worked out for DWG. His damage potential is through the roof.
But I think if you look at the enemy's team, DWG Gaming, the mistake is more often in the macro, remember? They don't have Flame in the roster. They have been known in the mid to late without Flame to make big botches in shot calling, so I think it's more catching someone who feels that they're stronger or able to walk up and face check a brush and they aren't, more so than just team fights, because the last few have been pretty triumphantly won by DWG.
Well, now Asterix is completed by Noguri. He's going to make his way back out of this base. Another Infinity Edge, another BF Sword is done for Nuclear. He's going to have 6 items and his Infinity Edge at the next item purchase.
No IEs for either AD carry, only Yasuo rocking the Infinity Edge so far.
Yeah, Ash probably wanting hers pretty soon.
A lot of threat on both sides to think about, right? So you understand the slower race to the IE for the 6th item for both, I believe.
Also, a reminder, pretty important, as Armada's playing point, and SKT need to try and brute force their way into some sort of vision around this purple buff. Predator going to be utilized there from Clid, wants to try and break someone off out of this team fight. Remember, SKT can isolate one target very, very well. It's just whether or not they want to, is now Noguri dancing around, but they do manage to get the last breath on Vladimir. They popped him to start the fight off, and Armada gets the Devour, gets the Grey Health, gets Teddy out of dodge. Nuclear able to take down the Tahm Kenshi. Teddy is dove on. Noguri finds his man, but now Khan is looking for more. He's got a GA, and now the pile-in has happened. It's working for SKT so far, and even Khan is able to get his way out, gets his way back in again as well. Takes down Canyon, now Beryl Can he go down? No, he's not going to. It's Noguri that this fight is about, as Khan once again trying to fight this one. Nuclear gets it with a damn ardent blaze, and that is the ace for DWG Gaming.
The hard engage on the backlines is won by DWG Gaming. They see Showmaker die, and they die further. They take down the duo, the 2-for-1 special, through the belly of the Tom Kench, and SKT's losing streak will extend to 4.
It absolutely will. This will be the end of this game. Only Nexus turrets between DWG and another victory. Marta's going to respawn. 6 seconds on Teddy, but look at this. There are minions. There are 3 members of DWG. And there is game over. DWG Gaming going to take down SKT, and the SKT woes continue.
Really interesting third game after game 1 and 2 were decided so early in the story. Even picking an MVP for this one is pretty tricky, given that Showmaker shouldered so much of the burden. I think for a lot of people would get over the line, and yet it was the dive specifically onto the backline rather than trying to peel. It is funny, but in pro play, it almost never becomes, screw the AD carry, let's just get in there and kill the enemy AD carry. Neither could afford to peel because the damage on the dive was so big. And in this case, Aatrox having to go over the wall to try to reset meant that he wasn't just doing consistent damage. Meanwhile, Aurelia was all in the face of Marta and Teddy.
And I feel like in both of these series, as DWG take a well-deserved bow, there have been specific moments where you can say the game is won or lost. I mean, it was very early in games 1 and 2, and in game 3, DWG being able to sneak that Baron with the really intelligent duo Baron, leveraging the fact that they had the Mountain Drake, the Infernal there as well. But that boost to their power was so important, getting them through that mid-game where SKT were looking to try and make plays.
And when there were these overlapping identities, something like a macro or rotational outplay or a Baron sneak in particular was, like you say, the thing that really, in hindsight, separated this series. We thought it might be the mistake when Showmaker with all his gold died, but there was the counter push available. So the real kind of point that separated the teams was, in fact, that really smart Baron that led to a second, that led to a third, that led to all the leads for DWG Gaming.
And you were talking about leveraging leads and things like that as well. I mean, I feel like Teddy was so far ahead in the early game. The early game was all about SKT, and honestly, I felt like SKT should have been able to have that one in the bag. It's not often that this team gets a lead early and isn't able to just play their suffocation style. DWG's ability to play around that and to speed up the game to a point where they can play around their solo lanes that did have so much power was just really, really impressive, and not something that we've seen out of DWG. And in fact, that's why Flame came into this roster, remember. This isn't the with Flame roster. This is with Noguri, with their young mechanics top laner, and now they're able to play a really solid macro game. This is great news for DWG Gaming.
But it's not like they looked worlds apart from their opponent, and they're a team that's fighting to get back into top 5. So I don't think it's solved yet for DWG. I think you just have to look back at their loss this series to see what the other side, the sobering side, can be. But I agree with you. DWG Gaming were able to out-edge SKT over 3 games, and losing streak or not, that is still something that their players will draw a lot of confidence from after this victory.
DWG fan in the audience, happy birthday to Ken. What she's saying.
I believe he only turns 18 today. He's one of our young guns, right?
Yeah.
So cool to have Canyon come in, and he's had a couple of down series in the past few months. I think he's been a little bit more on the reliable side over this series. Of course, his Karthus was very impressive in game number 2. Gonna watch the replay here, and you're watching the top side as Showmaker gets full engaged on by Clid. And it's exactly what SKT fans would have wanted. Get rid of the Vladimir. Now you can't get to the backline. But if you watch what happened, Noguri was able to get in and just they DPS down Tom Kench so much that actually not being devoured might have helped Teddy escape more than being devoured, especially after all the Devour nerfs. Even the spit range means that he's just hundreds of units closer than he would like to the ensuing chase.
I think that spit range was highly relevant there because Ashe would have been able to get sort of an extra flash distance and then flash. This time around certainly wasn't that case, but this fight that happened in the end felt so much closer. And the dancing around the walls, it was really cute. This triple knock up here from Khan, but Ardent Blades finishes it off in style. DWG are able to take it out.
Yeah, how much this means for the players.
Remember, he was dead while this was happening.
I can tell. Typing his GGs. Feeling better at this point, though. Things just about coming together for DWG, but I do appreciate that Game 3 was a lot closer.
Yeah, I'm really glad that it was as well, because I felt like our first two were, like you say, a bit mulligan-y. Felt like we just wanted to throw them out and start again.
Game
number
1 and
3,
2,
we got it.
but games that got away from you, right? And
yeah.
That was definitely like, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess we lost that one because of what happened. Game 3 was a lot more competitive, and I'm happy that we can highlight DWG's smart Barons being the reason they won rather than one of these teams tripping up, because these teams have tripped up quite a bit in recent memory. However, good play around the Baron, SKT. It's so easy to look back with map hacks and say you should have checked that closer than you did. It was only one person going there. They thought they had forked the enemy team. I forced them to go for a defensive teleport and come through, run through mid lane. However, the moment this happened, that Baron take was what answered.
And look, sometimes you just can't have all of that information in your head at the same
cover
time.
everything.
And sometimes you can't look at a situation and then blame someone for not getting it. Sometimes you just have to celebrate making the right call at the right time, and DWG definitely did that and managed to get themselves a victory. I love how it fit into the playstyle of their composition so well. The way they orchestrated the rest of the game was really nicely done. This was a great team fight from SKT to start the game off.
Problem for SKT's side is, what do you take forward from this? I think Khan and Mata had a much better performance in this series, and they're players who've been considered problem players by other. Faker had a very poor game number 3. Less said about Klid's game number 2. Game number 2, the better. So, unfortunately, the consistent trend for SKT is kind of a bit of a squiggly line in terms of team performance, macro. Everything is situationally being turned around and then falling apart. So, I think it's actually just a series that amplifies the struggle SKT's in. They are 1-4. And it's not a hard done by hard schedule 1-4 to be true. They've faced hard opponents. It's also they've got issues and enemy teams have played well.
Yeah, I feel like they've had sort of a mixed bag when it comes to who they've faced so far. Both SKT and DWG actually suffering a loss against Jinnae when they faced them. Ultimately able to come out with the victory in those matchups. These team fights were really fun to watch, but actually extremely chaotic. And as the game went on, the power of this Vladimir became so strong, despite not even being necessary in the last team fight.
Yeah, it was a 5v4 before they even turned on Mata, but Mata and Teddy walking up and the Devour. It's funny that Devour really screwed them, because the moment that Mata, this is categorically a bad 9-12 Tahm Kench Devour, because he devoured with flash up and Ash's flash up, couldn't flash further, couldn't spit further, and actually ended up just being a delivery service.
Yeah, condemned her to dead.
And that's because you've got thousands of games on old Tahm Kench, tens of games on new Tahm Kench, and in this case, the thousands overcame the tens, and it just was actually a mistake. One that we're not used to seeing, but one that is true to be said. And we're actually getting to hear the comms on the Baron play. I'd love to hear the SKT side here.
Yeah, I want to hear the SKT side as well, but I have a feeling it'll be relatively quiet. They're looking for this Mountain Dragon, which is, I assume, where they thought they were.
And then Khan gets the bad news, SKT. Could have Abyssal Voyage into no vision, but they do that quite late as well. And yeah, it's unfortunately so many things wrong at the same time.
And Clint does get in there, but then he just gets booped out immediately.
Faker's kicked out, Faker not in range. You called this on the play-by-play, but Faker not in range for the Yasuo ult either. That was very much oh crap.
And also, I mean, you can't blame Clint for that. He needed to get into the pit to try and contest the fight, right? Like, he had to.
It's to at least, cause disarray. Vladimir put on the real disarray this game. As you can see, we actually had some topsy-turvy stuff rather than just the linear graph going all the way up for the winning team. Fascinating series between DWG Gaming and SKT.
I think this is the quintessential DAMWON damage graph as well, where you've got solo laners doing so much of the heavy lifting when it comes to the damage done, and they've got more of a utility focused on the bottom side of the map, who were abused in the early stages. It looked like
game
it was
number
going
1, they
fantastically
lost.
For SKT.
Bot lane got slammed, and bot lane was the reason they lost. Game number 3, they went bot lane, couldn't get the kill, and bot lane got targeted again, and yet there was caveats, there was turnarounds, and one of those turnarounds was Showmaker. He put on that show. His carry pants this season have been a lot clearer than his Galio Lissandra days of 6 months ago. And he still picks up the MVP, even though you could have understood him pivoting after the last fight.
Yep, there's a lot of different options when it comes to MVP, but that's how you know that a team's been playing well. If it's hard to make that decision. No 1v9 here for DAMWON at this stage, and they are no strangers to the 1v9 territory with Noguri being so strong. The Vanguard's edge is in the backline as well. I mean, Noguri played this game in the last team fights extremely well on the Aurelia, and she took a nerf on this patch, just obviously was not quite enough. She's still permaban status until she gets through and wreaks havoc.
And the thing is, until she gets through, because remember, she kind of slid into the open slot after being banned earlier in the series.
Well, they like both permaban champions in the Aurelia and the Vladimir was snapped up by DAMWON Gaming, and so are these two MVPs. So let's throw it over to Ji-sun for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Season 3's interview translation, and we're gonna be hearing from Canyon, Showmaker from DAMWON Gaming, taking down SK Telecom. How do you feel right now? Well, game 1, we actually lost powerlessly, so I was a little bit nervous, but we were able to come back in game number 2 and 3, so it feels really nice. And Showmaker, finally, you got your MVP. A lot of players have been mentioning you that you were really sad that you couldn't get any MVPs. To be honest, today, I think today I actually stole the MVP from other players. Today was not the day for me to get the MVP. It feels good, but I'm really sad about Noguri.
팬분들이 재밌게 보고 계시고요. 자, 그리고 1세트 좀 아쉬웠고 2, 3세트 이제 잘 풀어내셨는데
was not that easy. However, game number 2 and 3 it went on the DWG side. But SKT tried Sona Pike bot lane, so how did you counter it? Well, Canyon said he's gonna play Karthus, so I just wanted to go with some of the supporting champion in mid lane, so I just played Jace, pushing lanes and supported him in jungle. In game 2, the most significant one was jungle fight between Xin and Karthus. So when did you guys gain the momentum? Well, we had a very strong top side, so we stole their blue buff, and we had a lot of mind games. So we were actually camping in the path that Xin Zhao might show up. So we landed the wards to predict his move as well. And Karthus, your ultimate was doing so much work in the late game. However, your first ultimate is on the point of 23 minutes. Why was that? Well, my team didn't make any fights, so it felt really bad. But I scaled quite well, so it wasn't really that bad. Moving on to game number 3, SKT tried Yasuo Gragas comp. Did you expect that? Well, game number 1, when they locked in Gragas in the second pick, well, I expected, today we might be able to see some of the Yasuo Gragas comp. But however, in the early phase of game, actually SKT made a lot of points in the bot lane, right? Even though we were actually behind in the early game, we are scaling competition. We were really good in the late game, so we just trying to contest some of the objectives and also fight well. So we were able to kind of even out the game, and in the end, we were able to turn the game around. And whose shuffle was that? The Baron, the early Baron. Well, suddenly, SKT players were trying the inner turret of mid lane, so suddenly, Noguri, out of nowhere, Noguri just said, "Try? Would you like to try?" And we were like, "Yeah, this is the angle." So we just went straight to Baron. How did it go, Canyon? Were you a little bit worried? I was a little bit anxious, thinking that SKT players might have find out, but it was actually easier than I thought, and we were able to kind of stay in the lead in the game. Showmaker. Well, today Canyon did a very good job, but as a whole, a lot of people are saying that you guys have a very good teamwork and very precise shot call. We didn't really practice anything special, but we just, hang out a lot together. We are really good friends in real life. nothing. We don't do anything special to improve our like teamwork or shot calls.
쇼메이커 선수 다음 경기가 킹존이에요.
Showmaker, your next opponent will be Kingzone.
물론
Kingzone,
다몬 게이밍도
a very strong team. Well, however, Damwon, you guys are also on a great momentum.
저희가 지금
Well,
연승할 동안
we are on a 3 games winning streak, but we were able to actually turn the game around, losing the first game, but actually picking up victories in the game number 2 and 3. So, I mean, we shouldn't lose game number 1, but maybe we will still stand a chance. So I'm gonna make sure to win our upcoming series. Hopefully, it's gonna be a win-win.
그리고 캐니언 선수 오늘 생일이에요?
Canyon, are you having your birthday today? It was yesterday.
여러분 큰 박수 한번 보내주시길 바랍니다. 와,
Congratulations.
생일 잘 보내셨고 오늘 이렇게 승리까지 가져가셔서 다시 한번 축하드리고요. 캐니언 선수의 각오를 들어볼게요. 다음 경기.
Any words going into the Kingzone match?
열심히 해서
I will do my best
네,
and perform
오늘
well.
정말 승리 축하드리고요.
Once again,
인터뷰도
congratulations
감사드립니다.
on the win,
여러분,
and
다시
thank you
한번
very much for
큰
this
박수
interview.
보내주시기
This will be
바랍니다.
the end of the interview with
자,
Kenyon
다음
Showmaker
게임의
from Damwon
캐니언
Gaming, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
기대가
Ji-sun.
감사할게요.
Fantastic to hear from both of these players, getting a little bit of insight into that Baron call and just saying that, like, look, this is our win condition, let's go for it after Nogari's call. Pretty good one.
It was one of those ones where Nogari was pushing out a top lane turret, they were pushing through mid. The call was, he's cutting down, we don't have to recall, we could try Baron.
Yeah.
Infernal, Mountain, chances rise that you might be able to make something cool happen. They did that in the biggest way possible, and without that move, I feel like everything goes 1 to 2 to 3 for SKT. With that move, it became kind of even footing again when SKT were in the ascendancy, and that reset was eventually run over by DAMWON Gaming.
And remember, DAMWON were actually coming down into an SKT trap and would have lost their inner turret, could have potentially lost the Mountain Drake there as well, as SKT moved down to 9th place. Sole possession of 9th place with a 1-4 record. That's some really scary stuff here as Kingzone will be facing off against Jinnae. We're going to have first versus the last place, but Jinnae have an opportunity to get equal 9th with SKT.
And I think the streaks become more and more important. It's a 4-loss streak for SKT, and this is the time of the season where you pile on the games, where you don't have a lot of time to breathe, and if you start losing now, it's hard to get back.
Yep, it's some really scary stuff here as we'll see whether SKT can bounce back. But guys, we're going to have a shorter break before we get to Jinnae versus Kingzone. Kingzone have a chance to make their way out of the pack and get themselves into sole first place. We'll find out after the break.